Hello guys, we're in the shop today. We've got a project that I've been wanting to do, needing to do for a while. I've got a trailer. It's a 5 by 10 foot trailer, and I'm going to make a tailgate for this trailer, one that'll work and last a lot longer than just if you throw a board in that tailgate. Now I'm getting ready to sell this, so I'm not going to a lot of expense, but it's awful windy today, so I apologize for the wind noise. But we're gonna put a tailgate on here. We're gonna make one. I've got a couple of old 2x7s, which I would say are 2x8s, that I'm gonna cut down. I'm gonna make this, but I'm gonna show you the way I'm gonna do this. A lot of people just throw a board in here and be done with it. 2x12, but a 2x12 is literally about $14 or $15 a running foot right now. So a tailgate on this thing would cost me about $80 or $90. And for a little bit of my time and opportunity to give you guys another way of doing things without spending a lot of money, if you got some old wood sitting around, you can easily make you a tailgate, and then you can put it on your trailer and it'll help spruce it up so that you can get top dollar for it when you get ready to sell it. I'm going to show you the trailer and show you what I'm going to do. So I've got a 5 by 10 foot trailer that I'm going to sell, and I've had this trailer for some time now. Bought it for $400 at least 15 years ago, and it had a flat bottom boat on it, and at the time I gave her $100 extra for the flat bottom boat, and I still use the boat to this day. You'll see it in some of my videos, a little 12-foot boat that Seth and I take out. But anyway, I've got this little trailer. I've gone through it, and it's been a really good one over the years, but I've given it to my oldest son, and he told me, he said, Dad, he said, I really need one that's about a 16 or 18 footer. He said, can you get this one on Facebook, sell it? And he said, now I'll put that money towards a bigger one. So what I'm going to do is, in order to sell it, I've got this thing all wired and ready. But what I'm going to do is I am going to, looks like I need a new light too, looks like. What I'm going to do is I am going to put a new tailgate here on this trailer. Change glasses so I can see what we're doing. So one of the very first things that I need to do in order to determine how to make this tailgate is I need to measure from this side here over to this side, and my tailgate has a piece of, or my trailer has a piece of angle iron welded onto it, and you can see it's just tacked on here about 3 or 4 places, and that creates a slot that a board can slide down in there on both sides. Okay, it's got one over here. So what I've got to do is I've got to find the smallest point, or the shortest distance, between this side inside and this side over here. And so in order to do that, I'm just going to pull a tape on it, and it looks like it's 63.5 is the shortest distance. And so what I'm going to do is I am going to, looks like it's 63.5, if you can see that down in there. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut this thing, I'm going to cut my boards 63.25. I'm going to give myself some room to play with, and I may have to even take a little extra off once I get it fitted in. But you don't want it too tight because it won't slide up and down very easily. So you want to measure this thing, and you want to know your shortest distance. My top distance is a little bit wider than my bottom, so that's I'm gonna cut mine 63.25. Now, if you look here on top, I've got a couple old 2x8s, and they are pretty rough looking. They are 7 inches wide or thereabouts, and maybe a 2x8, remember, is not necessarily a complete 2x8. This one's actually 2x7, but I'm going to cut it off. I'm going to cut this. I'm going to cut it off my 63.25. Cut it down 63.25, and then I'm going to rip it to 6.5 inches. I'm gonna take off some of this ugliness, and I'm gonna do that one, and I'm gonna do this one as well. But first I've got to take my skill saw and I've got to cut these off 63 1/4. Okay guys, first things first, I got to cut these things out. I'm gonna double check my measurement. I think it's 63 1/4, but let me double check while I'm here. Measure twice, cut once. Yeah. So we're gonna make this 63 1/4. And I could get by with probably 63, but I can always nibble off a little bit more if I need to. 63 1/4. Let's look at the other side. I might be able to, yeah, this side's a little flatter, not curled. These are old boards and I just want to use them up, get them out of my way. I've been holding on to them for some time. 63 1/4 and 63 1/4. Use my square. Mark these. Take my skill saw and I'm just going to cut these right off. Now, let me back you up a little. Using my table as a sawhorse. Let me cut this one off. There's one. Now the other side's pretty bad on that one. You know what? I think I can use this one. Let me get a 63 1/4 on this one. Might be able to get it all done with one board. Then I'll have an extra one, even though it's an ugly one, for another project. $63 1/4. Now the reason I'm cutting these first is because I'm going to take them to the table saw and I'm going to rip them down a little bit so I can cut off some of this bad edge. All right. Okay, there's my two boards. Take them over to the table saw and I'm going to rip them down. Alright, sorry for the wind noise, but I'm going to cut the board 6 1/2 wide. Okay, so that gives me a smooth edge on this side, and I've got a smooth one on this side. You want to make sure if you use old wood, you make sure you get all the nails and staples out of it. There's one. Okay, there's two. Now let's take our boards over to our trailer. So I'm going to fit my boards into my trailer slot, see how they line up. All I'm going to do, I'm going to drop them in. Now you can see that only one is not a real tall tailgate, but I've got two that are 6 1/2, so it ought to bring it up to 13 1/2 inches high. Not quite to the top, because I have a hole here that you put a pin in to keep it from bouncing out. Okay, now let's put the other one in, and that'll make sure they both fit together. And that's how it's going to look. Now I'm going to join these two pieces of board together, and they will fit just fine together. I'm going to line up the ends, and then I'll show you how I'm going to fit these two together. Okay, a lot of people will just nail or screw a couple boards on here, but I'm going to make these a little bit more permanent, and I'm not going to do that. All right guys, so what I've got here is I've got a couple pipe clamps that I grabbed out of the shop, and now this is a tailgate, so I'm not really worried about, I mean, it's already beat up pretty good. It's not the greatest, but we've got a gap. If you can see here, I've got a gap between my two boards, and I've lined up my ends. You got to line your ends up, make sure that they're even or flush on the ends. All right, and then what you want to do is you want to take a pipe clamp, and when you use a pipe clamp, you want to open this thing all the way up. That way you have plenty of distance to crank it down to flush your boards up. All right, so I'm going to guesstimate where I want my straps. I'm going to put straps on this instead of boards, and I'm going to sort of guesstimate where I want my straps, but it's touching on each end. The board is touching each other, so it's sort of got a gap in the middle. So I'm going to put both pipe clamps right here in the middle. Move this one over. I'm going to put both pipe clamps right here in the middle. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to crank these down and try to flush up this gap. Okay? Now, if you want to, you can always put a piece of cardboard between here and there, but this is just a tailgate, so I'm just going to go ahead and crank it up, crank it down. Crank that side. Crank this side. This one's not grabbing like it should. These smaller pipe clamps, sometimes these right here little mechanisms won't lock, so you gotta really hold it down. There we go. Now it's grabbing. Okay, so all I'm doing is I'm cranking them down till I get my gap squeezed together. All right, so you can see here my gap is really tight. It was a pretty good gap, about 1/4 of an inch, and now I've got them squeezed together. And so now I'm going to join these two together. Now you can, like I said, you can put a 2x4 here, and you can put a couple screws in it and put one on the other side, but I don't want to do that. I'm going to make a tailgate with a couple metal straps on it. I'm going to show you how I do that. First thing I got to do is I've got to measure. Take my tape measure. First thing I've got to do, I got to measure after they're squeezed down real good. I got to measure how long they are. They are 13, and I've got to measure how thick they are. These are 1.5 thick. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut a piece. I'm going to make it a little long, but I'm going to cut a piece of my strap. And I've got, this is a piece of 1/8 inch strap or 3/16 strap, and it's probably 2 inches wide. Let me look. Yep, 2 inches wide. And I'm going to cut a piece off. I'm going to cut a piece 13. That's for one side. And I'm going to make it about 13, about 14. Then I'm going to add another 2 inches. So I'm going to make this thing 16 inches wide. I'm going to cut off a piece of 16-inch strap. I'm going to need 4 of them, okay? I'll show you why in a minute. Take my grinder and I'm going to cut that off, and hopefully with all this wind I won't start a fire. That wind is gusting today. I'm glad I'm not on the lake. I don't think you could get on the lake today without having to worry about fighting the water coming in the boat. All right, I'm gonna take my 4-inch grinder and I'm gonna cut my line. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna be putting this on here, but I'm gonna have to make a bend. I'm gonna have to make a bend on one end 1.5 inches deep. Okay, let's take you over to the vise. Okay guys, so this is a Harbor Freight 20-ton hydraulic jack metal press. Got it locked down. I am going to measure off. I'm going to bend this strap 1.5 inches back. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to measure off 1.5 inches plus 1/8, so 1 5/8 inches. This is the long way to do this, but I'm going to do it this way anyway. Pull you over here closer so you can see. So what I've got here, guys, is I've just got a 20-ton hydraulic press, and I've made a die out of a piece of angle iron with 2 other pieces of angle iron, and that'll make a 90-degree bend in a piece of metal. So I'm gonna get it down here, and in order for it to work, I put the center of my angle iron, my angle iron die, right on the line. Okay, now I drew the line all the way across so that I know that it's lined up square. All right, square to the vise, square to the press, and I'm just gonna take and I'm just gonna use my press to bend my angle, at a 90-degree right angle. I'm going to have 4 of these. Now I may have to trim a little bit with the saw after I cut it, which is okay, but you go on this until it won't go anymore. Now when you're doing this, guys, I'm going to pull you up here just a hair, and you're coming down like this, make sure you don't have your hand up here close and let it hit that, because it'll cut you wide open. Okay, keep your hand back, make sure you don't hit it, and there it is. Now I can let it loose, let the pressure off, don't let it go all the way up, that way you don't have to go all the way down. All right, this is how well a press will bend. This is how well a press will bend strap. Okay, not a high dollar thing. It's got some paint on it, but it bent it at a 90-degree angle. Now, take you back over here and show you why that's important. This is going to be placed on here, and if you notice, I've got a little bit hanging over here, a little bit hanging over here, so I'm going to make another one of these 16 inches. I'm going to make 4 of them, and I'm going to make them to where the next one butts right up against this one. I'm going to drill some holes, and I'm going to put some lag screws in there, and that's going to hold my tailgate together. All right, and that'll slide right down in here. I'll have to trim it off, but I'm going to weld it up. So let me make, I need 3 more 16-inch ones. Okay, all right guys, so I've got my pieces of strap bent and cut, and they're a little bit long, but let me show you why I did it that way. What they're going to do is this one, you can see how it's flush to the edge. This one's going to come in, and I'm going to end up welding this one across here and then cutting off the extra. Okay, so I'm going to weld Once I get it squeezed down on there, I'm going to weld across here. I'm going to cut off the extra, and that'll hold those two together. Now, then I'm going to go back and I'm going to put a lag bolt right in the center of each board, okay? And that too will hold that strap on there. So now what I've got, guys, is I've got one that's going to overhang on this side. I can weld. I've got one that once I squeeze it down, I'll squeeze this one and make it touch, and I'll weld under here. That'll hold that side. I'm going to drill a hole here so I can put lag bolts in. And then I'm going to come back, I'm going to squeeze this one together as much as possible, and then I am going to weld this one up, okay? And I'm just going to make a strap that goes around this to hold these boards together. Alright, now then I'm going to take a clamp and I'm going to squeeze, or take a hammer and just knock this away. Get a hammer. There. Now we've got them really tight against the wood. I've got this one squeezed down. I'm going to take my other C-clamp and I'm going to lean this up. Take my other C-clamp and I'm going to squeeze this down against the board, and then I can weld it up. Now then, I'm going to lay this back down so you can see what I've done here, guys. I'm going to lay it, that C-clamp is going to hold it. So let me show you something. So this is what I've done. I have taken my strap and I have squeezed it together, and I'm going to weld a bead right here, and then I'm going to cut off the excess. I've done it on both sides. I'm going to weld a bead. I'm going to weld a bead right there and cut off the excess. So let me fire up my welder. Put you on hold for a second. Okay guys, I'm going to weld me a bead right across there. Ooh, let me shut that door. I'm not getting that wind blowing my argon away. Watch out, amigo. Watch out. Sorry about that, guys. I had to shut that door. That wind was blowing my argon away. Ooh, I think that paint's not helping it either. Okay guys, I put 2 or 3 beads across there on that. That's the first one. Now I need to flip it over, do the other side. Hope that didn't ruin my sunglasses. It might have. Let me flip this one over. See if I can't weld the other side. Okay, on this one I'm gonna weld this side here, and then it'll be, I can release the straps. Put my ground on. I could have welded it upside down, but it's just a lot easier if I didn't have to. Okay, I got that one welded on. I think what I'll do is I will go ahead and take the straps off. I gotta close some of these doors. I'm afraid it's gonna suck my doors out of this shop. Hold up guys. Okay guys, I'm gonna flip it back over and take off these C-clamps. It'll hold itself now. Get these out of the way. You can tell that's just an ugly bead. So I'm gonna put another one on it, a little bit better. Okay, there's that one. Now I can take my cutoff wheel and cut that excess off. All right. Okay, so I've got that one tightened down. Let's put the ground on right here. Let's weld this one up right here. I just got a little bit of a gap, but you know what? That's what a welder's for. Weld gap. Okay, got that side welded up. Okay guys, we can take off all the clamps. Now remember, this thing's awful hot, so we're going to grab it, we're going to roll it back over. We're going to take off the clamps. Take off your pipe clamps. Off of your other pipe clamp. Okay, now we've got our board. We've got it secure. Before we cut those ends off, we're going to go ahead and drill our holes and put our lag bolts in. That way it can't move and it won't spring if we for some reason accidentally cut through our weld. So let's go ahead and get a drill, and we'll get a drill bit and we'll drill through this, because we're going to put a lag bolt, one here, one here, one here, and one here. We're going to have a lag bolt in each board. Okay guys, so what we're going to do is we're going to put a pilot hole in each side here, and I always use a self-tapping screw and an impact for my initial hole. And you don't have to be perfect, you can just eyeball it, get it in the middle. These self-tappers will do a pilot hole very quickly, and it'll save you drill bits. Now, they may not last very long, but like I say, it'll save you a drill bit. Get you another one. They're cheaper than drill bits, guys. That's all I know. I've got to get my drill, and I've got to get a bit. .3/8 bit. So what I'm looking at is I'm looking at a bit that's going to be bigger than the threads of my bolt. 3/8. I've already got a good pilot bit, pilot drilled. Now this, because it's a bit, a drill bit and not a screw, I'm going to make sure I put a little water on it. So guys, what you can do is you can get one of these all-purpose sprayers at Harbor Freight. They're about $6 or $7, $8, not very much. And what I do is I put a little soap and water in them. And soap and water in one of these little sprayers is every bit as good. They're a little pump-up sprayer, and it's every bit as good as some kind of a lubricant. It makes a great lubricant to spray so that you can pump it up, spray, and use your drill. Let me go get some soap and water for it. So I'll put a little bit of soap in my sprayer, a little bit of water, and all you're doing when you're doing this is you're giving it a little bit of lubrication, but you're also keeping your drill bit cool. And you don't want to just go full blast on your drill bit. You want to spray it, but you don't want to just ruin your drill bit. Go as hard and fast as you can. So let me put a little on here. One reason I like soap and water too, guys, is if I need to paint this later, I don't have to worry about trying to get a solvent, some kind of a solvent. I mean, some kind of an oily lubricant off my project. Okay, there's that one. There it is. But if you can drill a pilot hole, it'll help it continue to bite because it protects that tip. There's that one. All the way done. Okay, I got a socket, a 9/16. These have a 9/16 head on them. I got my attachment here for my little 3 or 1/2 inch attachment for my impact. You can see how that really sucked that down. then after I get these on, I can cut these tails off. Let's do this one over here. Get the metal shavings out of it. There's that one. Now then, I've got them all locked on. Almost done. Now we can take our cutoff wheel. We can nip this ear off here. We can nip it off so that we can make sure that we leave that weld intact. Might be able to be better if we do it from the other end, so you can see. Let me flip it over. Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut that. I've made the strap all the way around. Now I'm going to cut this ear off, leave the weld so that it'll be strong and it'll hold the boards in there. And these boards won't come loose. Get on my safety glasses. I'll take my grinder and I'll smooth that down and round off that edge so nobody gets cut with it. Alright, and I'll grind that one smooth. Flip that board over and I'll do the other side. Guys, I've got my strap welded on, bolted on, or screwed on, welded on. Got my tailgate ready. I've ground off my ends. I'm going to grind these off. Knock off all the rough edges. And then, I'm not going to paint mine, but you can paint it black or you can paint it whatever color you want. Right now mine looks sort of like an old, looks like the back end of a buckboard wagon. But the whole thing is I've got two pieces of wood now that are bigger. They're just junk wood that I had, extra wood. They are wider than a 2x12. They're 13 inches wide. Then what I'm going to do, and what I like to do on my tailgates, and this is just up to you, it's a safety thing. I suggest do it. Another Harbor Freight thing. Go to Harbor Freight. Grab you a couple of reflectors for the back of it. These things were like $2.99. They stick on, but they also will screw on. So I'm going to open these up. You can put them on the ends, or you can put more than two on here. I just bought two, but you can put them on the ends like this, or you can put them in the middle. It doesn't matter where you put them. I suggest you get some reflectors and put them on there. That way you'll make sure that you just have an extra added safety if you're pulling at night and your lights are not working. Okay guys, I've just got a little short screw here with looks like a washer head on it. It's already built into the screw. Now I'm just going to snug it down on both sides. Turn that around, get it good and get it level. There's that side. Let me go over here and do the other side. And just so that they'll be equal, equal from each other, I'm just gonna do this one. Do the same thing. I just did a quick measurement between them. Take the sticky back off. Line up. I'm just lining it up with this and moving it over a little over an inch, making it level. Start it there and that'll hold it. Snug this one down. Don't break it. And now we've got a finished tailgate. Let's go see what it looks like when we put it on. Go set the camera up. Sometimes you run across these necessary projects. That doesn't mean they're always fun. See if it goes down in my slot. There's my tailgate, guys. Now, I may not ever get it out of there. What I need to do is I need to take it off. What I need to do is take it off and trim off about 1/4 inch on, or a little bit on each end, and then it'll be good to go. I can get it in and out and everything. So there's our tailgate for that little trailer. That right there tailgate will last a long time, and I hope it'll help next time you decide to build a tailgate for your trailer. Guys, thanks for watching. Like and subscribe. Y'all have a good day.